welcome everyone. Glad you're here today. This is going to be an interesting talk in so many ways. And right now, I would invite those of you who are able to stand, and we'll sing our way into the service.
Well, good morning, everyone. Let's sing into this beautiful day together. Swing open my heart, give thanks for the day. Gonna let love fill me up, get right back to the start. This is how I was made, free from the worry and free from the fear. I know Spirit is peace, loving kindness in me right now, right here, singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Sing, don't worry, singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Swing open my heart, give thanks for the day. Gonna let love fill me up, get right back to the start. This is how I was made, free from the worry, free from the fear. I know Spirit is peace, loving kindness in me right now, right here, singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry, no, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Let's sing, don't worry together. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Yeah, yeah, every little thing. Yeah, every little thing is gonna be alright. One more time, sing it out. Yeah, every little thing is gonna be alright. Well, good morning, friends. Why don't you take a minute to greet some of those lovely faces out there? I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the is welcome here. My soul 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 is welcome here.
Well, everybody, I want to welcome you again. And exciting news here for our children and the parents. We have a new teacher named Nico. Nico is from Minnesota and has been a guide in the summers for a number of years, working with kids and adults. And so we're very blessed to have her here. And if there are children in the audience that didn't get the message that these guys did, feel free to come on up if you feel comfortable. Okay, and let's sing them to their outdoor classroom.
Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, it's a special place. We got Mother Nature and the human race. The world's got trees and bumblebees, rivers and lakes and the open seas, mountains and valleys and animals too, and a sun that shines on me and you. Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, it's a special place. We got Mother Nature and the human race. We got Mother Nature and the human race.
Good morning. My name is Leo Brody. I'm the practitioner for today, and I'm assisted today by my fellow practitioner, Susan Jancic. Glad to be here. I just want to take a moment for an invocation. This was, for a lot of us, a difficult week from the news, but I'm here to remind myself and to remind all of us that we are all one, and there's only one mind operating in the universe. We call that mind God, God's mind. That's my mind, and there's just one mind, and the differences that we see are part of what we need to heal, what we're here to heal. And we heal that with love. So I'm here to affirm that love is the powerful force of the universe. Love is what connects us all. Love is the healing power. And if you join me in knowing that love is the truth, love is the everlasting, deep down, rock-solid truth. It's the truth of our nature as human beings. It's the truth of the universe. Please join me in saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
So sacred, so secret, so precious, this love. So sacred, so secret, so precious, this love. So sacred, so sacred, so secret, so precious, this love. So sacred, so secret, so precious, I will share, I will share, I will share will share, I will share this love, so sacred, so secret, so precious, this love, so sacred, so secret, so precious, this love. I will share, 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 I will share this love. I will share, 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 I will share this love. I will share, 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 I will share this love. So sacred, so secret, so precious, this love, so sacred, so secret, so precious, this love. Well, I don't think neither Andrea nor I looked at what the topic was supposed to be today because it just felt like coming off of, the last week or so that we've had globally. I just felt really called to share this song today. And it's a song that if you were a part of the song circles that we were doing with Yam and Jesse of Earth Practice here in the sanctuary, this is a song that got brought to us last spring. And I think it'll feel really like a healing balm for all of us. And the vision I have is that we can really just send this out into the world, knowing that oneness that we all share. We are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, we are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, we are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, we are woven flesh, carbon, star. We are woven into the heart. We are woven. We are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, we are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, lest we forget what we are. Water, bone, flesh, carbon, star. We are woven into the heart, lest we forget, lest we forget what we are. Water, bone, flesh, carbon, star. We are woven into the heart. We are woven. We are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, lest we forget what we are. Water, bone, flesh, carbon, star. We are woven into the heart. Let's just hear our voices. We are woven into the heart of all that is, into the heart of all that is. We are woven, lest we forget what we are. Water, bone, flesh, carbon, star. We are woven into the heart, lest we forget. Lest we forget what we are. Water, bone, flesh, carbon, star. We are woven into the heart.
Well, I had this great topic, the mathematics of consciousness, and I was so excited to be able to talk about that, and maybe someday. But today I need to talk about what's been happening in the world a little bit from a spiritual perspective. And I'm going to start with a true story from the tradition that I've been practicing in. Many of you know that I am a meditator, and that I practice with a Buddhist meditation tradition that was started with Thich Nhat Hanh. And so for many years now, I've gone to retreats and heard stories from the monks and the nuns. And I heard a story a few years ago that really actually kind of shocked me in a way, because we put spiritual people, hopefully not me, but other people, like monks and nuns, I put them on a pedestal sometimes. Have you ever done that? And, they're bound to disappoint, right? Because we're all human. But so this story is about two monks. And in Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition, there was a real push a number of years ago to invite lots of young people to consider the monastic path. And so a lot of people responded, partly because of the state of the world, partly because of spiritual depth and interest. And so there is a monastery in Vermont. And these two monks took vows at about the same time and began to practice. And the monastic life is very regimented, really. There's definite periods of every day where everybody does the same thing. And so for a whole year, these two men, because they were both monks, practiced in the same monastery and did the same, there's very early morning sitting practice for a long time, and then there's walking practice, and then there's another sitting practice, and then you walk slowly to mindfully eat, and then you walk slowly back to have a Dharma talk, and it just goes like that. So lots and lots and lots of practice. So the backstory to this story is that one of the brothers was Jewish, and the other brother, you guessed it, was Palestinian. And somewhere during that year, that information somehow came about so that, the community knew all that. And likely everything about everyone, because, when you have personal time, you're not going to talk about practice. You're going to talk about what you miss about your home and things like that. So one day, everybody had walked very mindfully to the early morning sitting practice, and everyone was sitting very peacefully, seemingly, and all of a sudden, the Palestinian brother jumped up and started attacking the Jewish brother, to the point where the other monks all had to get up and pull them apart, because it wasn't one-sided. Because once one did, then the other did, and bam, 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 bam. And so they were telling this story at one of the retreats, shortly after 9/11. And, and it was shocking to hear that and to even imagine it, because I know some of these monks and nuns, and I know that practice schedule. I do that when I go on retreat. And so it was like, wow, whoa. Except that, have you ever meditated? How many? Even if you just tried, you can raise your hand. It counts, right? Even if you said, ooh, this is awful. But you may have noticed that you can sit and look peaceful, but not necessarily be peaceful in your mind, right? And so it's not shocking on one level that happened. And you might be asking, why? Because that's, of course, the question that I ask in times like these. Why? Why do sacred humans continue to be so violent? Is it like they say the Mayans, there was a lack of tryptophan? Is it that we're just inherently have this violent streak? Is it some other weird other thing that we all have, but most of us manage to manage? And it's a really, really great question. And in case you're wondering, I don't have the answer to that one. But eat turkey. No. Trying to lighten the mood a little here. No. While I don't have the answer to why, and maybe no one does, I do have some thoughts gathered from all my years of spiritual study and practice that I thought might help in case you're having a hard time. I guess the big thought that I have about all of this most recent horror, because it's horrifying, right? And if you've been watching the news, I encourage you to now turn that off, because you now have those images forever in your mind, and you don't need those to know what's happening. So my spiritual thoughts are this, that first, you and I and all sacred humans share a field of consciousness. It's now called the morphogenetic field. And like birds that share a field of bird consciousness, which allows them to know without knowing how they know how to migrate, and animals share a consciousness that allows them to know what to do and how to do it, even though there's no trainer telling them that. We too have a field. And in that field is all of human experience and thought. The good, the bad, and the ugly is all in that field. And you and I, unless you have come to Earth as an alien and you're in disguise, but for most of us here, we might feel alien, but we actually come from a lineage. In fact, many of us now, Heinz 57, as my husband likes to call it, from so many different lineages of people that going way, way back, centuries and centuries back, millennia back, we come from lines of people who had ideas and beliefs and hatred and love, just like us. And so there's an understanding that our consciousness is informed by this field, and that it's informed by our connection to those stories and ideas that have been handed down to us from our lineages of people. For years, I've shared about my lineages just to help other people understand what I'm talking about. So, I am largely Irish, like a lot Irish. And as you may know, the Irish were conquered and devastated over and over and over and over and over again by lots and lots and lots of different people. And so my people developed the belief in betrayal that played out in their lives and in mine. Hopefully not in my children's, because I've worked hard to heal that idea. But it's an idea that was passed down, that was talked about as if that was the reality, that was the truth, that it was always going to happen, it always had happened, and it always would happen. And so as a little kid, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's what happened, so darn. I wonder if that won't happen to me. I sure hope not, And you probably have ideas too that were passed along from the people who loved you and wanted to protect you. And that's why those messages came to me. It's like, just watch yourself, because that could happen. It's happened to us, it could happen to you. Anybody? Yeah. So while that doesn't answer the question of why violence, it does start to make some sense of how violence could happen, how hatred arises, how people can be so outraged that they would kill children. It can kind of, in some weird way, explain the how of it. But I'm much more interested in what to do with that. And that actually was part of what put me on the spiritual path in the first place, is, well, hey, now, I'd rather not go through my whole life being betrayed. How about you? And so I began to study in the science of mind. And what I loved about the science of mind teachings was they were very clear that we have a choice now of how we think and how we feel and how we believe. And that over time, if we continuously make a new choice about how we think, how we feel, and how we behave, then things shift, and the old way no longer operates. And so I began to practice that. I began to practice that in lots of ways you could imagine. And one of the basic spiritual understandings of the science of mind teaching is something called mental equivalence, the law of mental equivalence. And what that means is basically, it's a lot, I'm simplifying it terribly because I have 25 minutes. What you think about deeply, not just casually, thank God, or we'd all be dead over and over again. But when you think about something deeply, it tends to bring about an outer experience that matches it. So depending on your thoughts, your outer experience begins to resonate and be an equivalent of that, is the teaching. And so we see in the world a mental equivalent of all of us. So the good news is there's really, really awful things, but also there's incredible, beautiful things. Incredible kindness and compassion and love and support and help and, all of that. So there's all of it. And the question then becomes, well, how do we be part of something different than the darker parts of the morphogenetic field? What can we do? And, we can do a lot, actually. That's what I've come up with. We can do a lot. And it always starts with one thing. And that is, so everybody do this. It starts with me, myself, and I. And so in the recovery circles, one of the things that's encouraged as part of doing the 12-step program is a fearless personal and moral inventory. And this happens on a regular basis for folks in recovery. And what that really looks like is an inventory not only of the outer actions, but the inner understanding and ideas that are operating. And it's not just those of us who have worked with addiction that can use this practice of a fearless personal and moral inventory. And it reminded me of Mary Manning Morrissey, who a very famous teacher in New Thought circles. And I happened to live close to Mary for quite a while. So she and I would get together at ministers' gatherings and things in Oregon. And she was telling the rest of us ministers how every night before she goes to bed, and I think she still does this, she asks, what do I need to forgive today? And she said it was always astonishing that, after years of this practice, there was still plenty, and that sometimes it was something that floated up from her childhood, and sometimes it was something that she said or did in that day, and sometimes it was another person, but there was always something for her to work with, forgiveness. And, I took that home, and I didn't practice it because I had 3 little kids, and it just didn't seem like I could. Usually by the time I got to night, I was like this. And yet it stuck with me because it was a really important place that she was pointing to. And that's where we start. We really can't expect hatred and forgiveness to happen in the world if we aren't doing it, right? It's kind of like there's this old story about Indra's net. Have you heard of that one? Where every single reality is a shining jewel in the net of Indra, the great goddess of the Hindu tradition. And that each of the realities is like a sparkling gem in that net, reflecting light to one another. And the idea, of course, from a mythopoetic point of view, is that we're in the net and that we have the opportunity. That's where I wore this. I'm not really a sparkly person, but I thought, well, we need a little sparkle today to remind us that that's our job, not to be cheerful necessarily in the face of horror, but to be the place where forgiveness and love and compassion and kindness is extended as much as we can. As much as we can. And that goes to another thing that you and I probably work on. Well, I do. I don't know about you. But there's that thing of, well, why should I try? Because it'll never be enough. Anybody have that one? I've had that float through in meditation. Oh, yes, it is enough. The problem is not that it's not enough. The problem is we don't believe it's enough, and so we don't do it. We have to do it. That's the thing. All of us. Every single one of us, as much as we can. And even if your spiritual practice is like this small, saying a prayer for love into the world matters. It does, it really does. Because you're filling the morphogenetic field with your own energy, your own thought patterns, your own ideas, your own understanding. You're putting out a different mental equivalent than the ones that are being put out right now. And I don't have to listen to the news to know what's being said, sadly. Thoreau said it a long time ago when he went to Walden. Someone said, well, how are you going to survive without knowing what the news of the day is? And he said, oh, bad news will always find me. I've found that to be true ever since I read Walden in high school. So it matters, and it matters in such a way that it's easy to think that the magnitude, the scale of horror and violence and hatred is so big that nothing we can do will stop that. So I've brought you two men that are idols of mine in this arena of hatred and the healing of hatred. So the first is very familiar to you because the first is an American. His name was Martin Luther King Jr. And this is what he had to say. Returning hate for hate multiplies hate. There's that mental equivalence. Adding a deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So there's one man's voice in a sea of hatred, encouraging his people, don't do that. It doesn't heal. It doesn't change a thing. It only makes it worse, darker. And then my second favorite, have I ever told you that I watched the movie Gandhi 11 times? So I have it pretty much memorized. Mohandas Gandhi, who was the inspiration for Martin Luther King Jr., said this: hatred ever kills, love never dies. Such is the vast difference between the two. What is obtained by love is retained for all time. So obviously there's a choice we have, and there's so many questions about that, right? Like, how do you love in the face of such hatred? How do you do that? And I also don't know the answer to that question, except that I know that I can do that in my own circle of influence. I can do that in my family, and I can do that with my words, and I can do that with my thoughts. Not hating someone that is so overcome with hatred that it leads them to such violence. I can extend love from my understanding to someone suffering so. And that's how I frame it. So I also brought this quote from Matthew. I was looking for a Bible earlier. I guess I took it home. That tells the tale, doesn't it? But I actually think of Jesus as a master teacher of love. And just like now, back then, there was a lot of hatred. And so maybe it doesn't escape you that all three men that I'm bringing to you were assassinated, which is why I'm always scared to do a talk like this. But here's what Jesus said in Matthew 5:23-24. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and let me stop right there for a sec. So an altar in the Jewish tradition was in the temple, and you brought the offering to the altar. But let's talk about us. And let's think of this altar as the altar of our heart for a minute. So, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there, remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled with them, and then come and offer your gift. So I found that, I love that quote, but I found it particularly apropos for me, and maybe it'll help you right now. Because not only does it ask me to do a personal inventory of, am I harboring anything against anyone? Am I holding resentment against an ex-person? Am I harboring hatred against a race of people or I don't know, let's say a government? There's all ways we can feel resentment and anger and a lack of forgiveness. And Jesus is suggesting that gets in the way of what we have to offer into the world. And so for me, starting today, for a week, every night, I will be asking, what needs my forgiveness? And every time I catch myself having thoughts that are also violent, I'll catch myself and surround those thoughts with prayer and understanding. It's totally understandable to feel such depth of suffering. Totally. It's just horrifying. And it's also really, really important that we add into the world something different. Something of our heart. Something of our truth. So I guess mathematics of consciousness can wait. And what we really have to do before us is a mighty task, done drip by drip by drip. And it matters. So let me do a prayer for that and we'll close. I am not just one person. I am the son or daughter of a lineage that goes back millennia. And I stand in this present moment, as all of us have, filled with Spirit, surrounded by Spirit, and operating in a world that was created and is maintained by that Spirit. And what I know of that Spirit, beyond all appearances to the contrary, is that that Spirit is infinitely intelligent and profoundly love. And that intelligence and love is absolutely available in this wonderful world of ours to everyone, to all of us. And especially now I focus on myself. Understanding that the misunderstandings, the old belief systems that some of my lineage may have held no longer operate in me. Instead, I choose to be the place of divine intelligence and profound love in this world. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. But as I open my mind and my heart to the remembrance that I am filled with Spirit, that what Spirit is, I am. There is no separation. There is only Spirit in form by means of me and you. I know that I am able to move with intelligence, knowing the next right step for me, and taking that step with compassion and love as my modus operandi. As I dedicate myself to this love in action, I know what to do and what not to do. And as I move from the altar of this heart of mine in this conviction of being love in action, what is mine to do arises, whether it is helping a neighbor, making a meal for someone who had surgery, reaching out to someone who's suffering. It doesn't matter what it is. It will arise for me to be the one. And I willingly and openly step forward into that. As I am called to love with intelligence as my guide, I add to the world love, overflowing. And I know that this small offering of one heart into the world matters as we join our hearts together in this offering. So I'm grateful for the dedication in my own mind and heart to step forward in love, to act with love, and to be the place of intelligence. And in this gratitude, I release this prayer to do its mighty work in me. I am transformed by this prayer. And if you would like to accept this prayer, whether you heard a single word I said, simply say, "And so it is." Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have ushers preparing for the offertory. Carol and Lynn are our ushers today. Thank you for being here with those baskets. And thank you ahead of time for any of you that can make a financial offering to our center. It supports everything that we're doing here, the music, the message, and so much more. So thank you. Thank you ahead of time.
All I love is all around me. All around me there is love. Like a sea of open water and the trees that rise above. I know that I am worthy of the gifts that love can bring. All I love is all around me. Love is everything. All I love is all around me. All around me there is love. Lifts me up if I let it, especially when I give it up. There is no limit to its magic, so I raise my voice and sing. All I love is all around me. Love is everything. Let's sing, love is everything. Love is everything. Love is everything.
Well, that was about perfect. Thank you. A couple of announcements for you, things that you might want to be involved in. Coming up on October 22nd, so next Sunday, Reverend Zena is offering, spiritually speaking, what we teach and how to use it in our lives. And it'll be happening right after the service, starts at noon and goes till 3 p.m. So you're invited to bring a little bit of food if you'd like. And we will have the opportunity to hear the basic ideas of the science of mind and how to apply them, and really in a discussion format. So you get to ask questions and talk about your own thoughts. So really a valuable thing next Sunday. If you'd like to be part of it, we'd love you to sign up. And you can sign up in our classroom, which is through that hallway, or by calling the office and letting us know you want to be a part of it. There's quite a few people already signed up, so I hope you'll think about it. And then Reverend, well, maybe, huh? Cindy. Cindy Clay is here today. And Cindy and Reverend Zena are bringing a wonderful opportunity for visioning, which is a spiritual practice about a lovely offering that they're going to begin offering in the new year called Spirit Works. And they would like you to come and vision with them. And this is what they're thinking, but they want your additional vision. Imagine a monthly catered breakfast at CSL that brings together people who work as individual contributors and managers, entrepreneurs, and those who own their own businesses. At each breakfast, we have the opportunity to be inspired by a speaker, share testimonials and demonstrations, and set our intention for the new year. So this group would be supporting those of you who fall into that category, and we'd love to have you come and vision with Cindy and Zena. That's going to be happening on Monday night, October 30th, from 6 to 7:30 here, and you are more than welcome to come. And then we're kind of, I don't want to say weird, but we talk about death more than some. My kids are always like, oh, there you go again. But I think one of the most wonderful ways that we do death here, if I could say it that way, is we celebrate the Day of the Dead. And we invite you to be part of that celebration. So starting next Sunday, for 2 Sundays in a row, and during the week, we're going to be having Day of the Dead altars set up. And you are invited to bring those whom you've loved that have passed on. Bring a memento, bring a picture. If you lost an animal, there's an animal altar for Day of the Dead for that. And at the end of that time, what we'll be doing on All Souls Day, November 2nd, from 6 to 8 is we're going to be celebrating our dead together. And we do that in lots of different ways. We have been blessed with the presence of the Threshold Singers. And they're going to be coming and singing with us and for us. So that's incredible. And then we'll have the opportunity to put our loved one's name into the circle, and then we'll say it back as a way of acknowledging that loss and that presence in our lives still. So that's Thursday, November 2nd, 6 o'clock. And bring your pictures and your mementos for the next 2 weeks, and we'll have a beautiful couple of altars to share. And then we have this amazing pop-up event. We've been doing pop-up events, inviting people who have special interests to bring their interests to our community. And this one has to do with the Vedic tradition, which is a manifestation of Hinduism. And the sacred Vedic fire ceremony is going to be offered by video here on November 4th from 10 to noon. And this is being offered by Tresaya and Tom. And Tresaya lived in an ashram in India for a number of years and taped this sacred fire ceremony with 60 young men and an awakened Vedic master doing it. And then we're going to be, those of you who participate in the pop-up, we're going to be offering our hopes for the future into a symbolic fire. So we'd love you to sign up. And the deadline for the sign-up is Monday the 30th. And you can sign up by either signing up at the Ask Me desk or calling the office, and we'll put you on the list. So that's what's happening this week and this month and further. So why don't we stand if we're able, and we'll sing Dwell Upon the Good.
Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the good. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the light. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the peace. Today I'm finding gratitude for all that's right. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. So let's dwell upon the good. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the love. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the grace. Today and every day I'm gonna dwell upon the joy. Today I'm seeing God in each and every face. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. So let's dwell upon the good. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. What we dwell upon, we become. So let's dwell upon the good. Yeah, let's dwell upon the good. Y'all have a blessed week, and we'll see you again soon.